Alright guys, so I've had a few requests this week on I did a video on how to paint some cars a while ago. There's been some comments through the months. Obviously I'm not a huge painter, but I'm a painter nonetheless. And there's been some questions and I enjoy trying to help people out, so I figured I'd put together another video that's a little bit more in depth than the last one I did. The last one was kinda very bare bones leveled. Um, But as you see, I'm using Photoshop here. I think this is Photoshop 2021. Honestly, any version of Photoshop is going to be similar. There's some other free paint programs out there. GIMP is probably one of the more popular ones. Some of the stuff will be similar in there. I don't use it, so I don't know exactly where some of the stuff is in there. But before I start painting something here, it's just the base NASCAR Cup template for the Camaro. A couple things that I'm going to use in this. A couple builds ago, iRacing actually put in the UI. Some people still use the old school website. The UI is kind of starting to take over, but they put a car viewer so you don't actually have to load into the game, um, which is cool. It lets you just check stuff on the fly. So if you go here, then you can click car model. Oh, I have the sim actually open currently for more in-depth paint schemes, so I had this open, which was gonna, it shows, like, when I get to a spec map, it shows some of the details better, but I'll back out of it so I can use the car model here. So use car model, you can zoom in and out, rotate all around it. It allows you to do it without going into the sim, so it can be pretty handy. This here is just a base paint scheme that I have set up in iRacing itself. When I get to the point of saving files, I'll show you where you save them to, how you name them. When I make it a spec map, I'll also be using this chart here. The metallic and the roughness are the important parts of this, and really this little scale here. Obviously on the metallic scale, this is pretty much chrome, and then getting away from chrome, not reflecting a ton of light. Now on the non-metallic scale, all the way here on the right is going to be essentially a matte paint. But I'll touch on that when we get to that point. So I'm going to go here into Photoshop. There's one thing people wanted to know is kind of how would you do a more realistic design that you would want to put on a car. I'm not going to do anything super intricate. Again, I'm not the world's greatest painter, but I can do some pretty basic stuff and make stuff look clean and simple. Here in your layers, this is going to be something I'll get to it when we get to spec maps. Your red section here, wireframe, something that's useful when you're trying to line up a line between multiple panels, especially when you're going between the fenders here up to the hood. If you're going to do that, I know this looks kind of complicated, but you can kind of see where the contours are of the green lines and how they line up with the fender here. You can kind of count the gaps in the boxes and you can see where it's going to end up lining up. But I'm going to go in here, common way I do it for just basic lines. I'll use the curvature. If you long click on here, you can do curvature pen tool. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to just kind of do some jagged straight lines. And then I'm going to end up filling it in. There's a couple different ways you can fill it in. When you go to spec map it, you want to have the fill in the lines be different layers so that you can more easily spec map it. If you don't plan on spec mapping it, you can do fill and stroke here to kind of just work around it and not have to do it. But I'm just going to do stroke here. Let's say I want my line to be 20 pixels wide. Let's see if that's, I'm going to do, trying to think what color I want to use. I'll do an orange. How about that? I'll do an orange stripe. I accidentally put a shape on here. Let's delete that out. I'm going to go down here, base paint. Let's do a do like a gray here. So we'll just do that gray. And then I'm going to go back to my curvature tool here. And I want to do the orange line. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the wireframe. I'm not going to get too complex and go between multiple panels and stuff. I just wanted to kind of show you that's how you would do it. Like when you get back here to this quarter panel and it has this little kick out here, you see it aligns with the deck lid here. So this little box that's here would line up with this little box here. So that's how you'd line up between multiple panels. But we're not going to do all that for this. I'm just going to do kind of a basic design here. So I'm going to click once. That's going to place one dot. Click again. It's going to draw it a straight line. This is where it's going to get tricky. So if I only click once, you see how it's doing a curvature. If I click again, it's going to do that curve. Now, if I decide, you know what, I don't want it to be curved. I don't like the way that that looks. You can double click your point, and it's going to set up your next point is now going to be a straight line. So I'm going to do this, double click it, again, straight line. Now you see here how it kind of does this weird like crossover thing. There is a way to fix that. Let me see if I can remember where I do that at. Yeah, so you do it here in the align box. I think if I get a center, yeah, that smooths it out. Prevents it from essentially getting those jaggeds. Then let's bring back a curve here. I might just do a straight line down here. I know this design doesn't look like anything all that crazy, but just doing kind of a proof of concept. If you were trying to do something that would be, you know what, let's delete that one out. I'm just going to do a very basic, quick little jagged with some like scallops on it, and just have it be straight, clean lines. So click, double click, double click, double click. All right. I should be able to go here, up to here, center it. That's going to get rid of all the jaggeds. You know what? I want to try and make sure that all this is actually on the scheme itself. So let's go for that. Let's drag this in a little bit so it's not as far out. All right, I'm going to hit enter here. It's going to put that design on there. You'll have it as a shape over here. What's great is if you leave it as an actual shape thing, you can just go in here and I could change what I fill it with. But then I'm going to want to fill that in. So I'm going to create a layer below it. Let's say I want to fill it with white. Let's go there. Just use our little brush tool here. I'm going to hit Control and plus sign here. That zooms me in. This is where you kind of got to finesse it a little bit. Since the line, this layer is below the shape, it lets you fill in between the lines. I'm going to have to bring the size down a little bit to get into the nooks and crannies here. But you can just fill this in. And there's probably better ways to do it, maybe more efficient ways of doing this. But this gets the job done fairly quickly. All right, I've kind of filled in the complicated section so I can increase my brush size again. Get it done a little bit quicker. Went outside the line. Control Z undoes it. All right. So it's going to be our basic design we're going to do. If I'm curious what it looks like, you don't need to turn the mask off here. The mask just kind of makes it so you can see the body line, but you don't need to do that to save it. So I'm going to go File, save as. I'm going to save it as a TGA file. I'm going to go to your iRacing folder, paint. For this car, some of these cars are always named something crazy. This car is stock cars, Camaro ZL 2018. I go in here. For me, I'm going to use custom numbers. To use custom numbers, you got to use Trading Paint Pro. Not everybody uses that. If you're just going to let the sim stamp your numbers, you just name it car and then whatever your iRacing ID number is. That happens to be mine. So I would save that and it will load it up with iRacing numbers on there. So see what it looks like, and then you go in here and immediately you see what it has, and it's just the iRacing stamp number. I don't want to do that. I'm going to use custom numbers. I'm going to show you all how to do that. So I'm going to go back to the folder. I actually have it here. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to put num and then underscore. So that will get rid of the custom number on there. So cool. I kind of like the way that looks. You see all this like bluish and pink and whatnot. If you look at my template, it's all the different cameras and the diffusers or whatever you want to call them. You can customize those. Those are here on my template I use here. These are the ones that are up on the roof of the car. These are the ones that are going down the back window. This is the camera up on the roof, and I believe this is the camera that's on the back of it, if I recall. So here's my basic scheme. One of the things that people asked how to do is what's the best way to mirror this to the other side of my car. So for this, I'm going to hold control here and click. That highlights both of these layers here. I'm going to hit right click, duplicate layers, do it on this template, hit OK. So that's going to create these duplicate layers. So now I have two instances of this stacked on top of one another. I'm going to go up here to images. I'm going to make sure that's it. Oh, no. Edit, and then transform. And then you're going to want to use the flip here. So for this one, I'm flipping vertically because I'm going up the screen. And you'll see it'll flip it over. There you go. Use the move tool. I still have these two highlighted over here. And you can literally just drag it to the other side of the car. You can see where it shows the pixels that are moving here and how it's aligned. Car side to car side, it's not always a mirror image. So you may have to have it be over a few pixels to align properly. I think this one actually aligns pretty good. Stuff like the Arca car and stuff, it's a little bit rough. So it might require a little bit finer tuning. But boom, mirror to the other side of the car. Quick and easy. Save as. Go back in here, go back to your, oh, it didn't update it for whatever reason. Oh. I don't know what it's telling me it doesn't like about what I just tried to do. But it didn't like that. Okay, now it worked. So there. Now it's on both sides of the car. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to put some custom numbers on here. Also, I touched on it a little bit in the last video. I'm going to hide these layers real quick that I just did. If you're working on trying to get better at making lines and designs, a lot of these, I did this in the last video, I showed you how you can recolor these so that you can just use the base schemes that are built into the templates if you just like some of these designs. But something you can do to try and practice getting better at the painting and drawing the lines and stuff is you can go in here say I like this design and I want to try and figure out how to do this contour, make this blue shape. You can go in here, use my point-to-point tool, start a point here, and it's going to be single click, single click, single click, single click, and then I'm going to do a double click here at the back to start it back going the other way. Alright. And I'm going to just join it back here to the beginning. Kind of altered my shape here a little bit, but I can drag this point, kind of make a little adjustment. For this one, I'm just going to do, instead of stroke, turn that off, I'll do fill of orange. Alright, so there you go. I kind of loosely trace that shape, but you can go through these different patterns and you can just kind of work on tracing, and then you can do some of the more intricate shapes and whatnot. It just kind of helps you get better and improve your painting. Part I struggle with the most on painting cars is the creativity piece of it, trying to think of a scheme that I think looks cool in my own mind. Usually it's inspired by old paint schemes or something somebody else has done, and then I just make subtle tweaks to it. I'm going to go and put some custom numbers on here. Let's do, I'm just going to do a single digit number. Let's do 4. Like Kevin Harvick. Next, Chase Elliott as well, but I'll just do a 4 on here. I have some different fonts on here. So I'll just do Aardvark. Aardvark's essentially like the old Hendrick scheme on a lot of their cars. I'd say I want to put, I don't know what color number would look good on here. I'll go with, let's go to scheme here. This is the part I will sometimes struggle with, is what kind of car number is going to look good on here. You know what? I think I'm going to just go with a black fill. So I'll go with the black fill. Right down here a little bit. Got it a little bit too big. Change my font size down to like 360. Yeah, let's do 340. All right. Nope. Go with 340. And I'm gonna say I want to skew it a little bit. So I want to lean it essentially. I'm gonna lean it 12 degrees. If you didn't see where I went there, I went edit, transform, and then skew. I'm also going to rotate it a little bit to kind of follow the proper contour of this car. Like a 2-degree rotation. Kind of helps follow the contour of the car a little bit better. Move it here to the door. And now I don't want it to just be single color. I want it to have some strokes around it. So I will go, I double clicked here. Stroke. I already have one in here, so I have one on there. I'm probably going to do a couple. So let's do 6-degree. Let's do an outline color of, red doesn't look right. Let's go with the gray. Now, you know what? Let's do white. I'm going to do white here, and then the outer stroke, I'll bump it up to 12 pixels. I'm going to do that as this gray, which really is going to give it kind of more like a cutout look on the scheme. So I'm going to leave it as that. Save as. Alright, so there it is on the scheme. So I like that. This is, again, very basic. I will slap a couple logos here on just the side of it. They're going to be basic logos. It made it even make sense on which ones I'm putting on here. But let's put, I'll put Discord logo on the side. Something I like to do is try and keep my layers and files I have in here kind of all organized. So I'm even going to name this Discord, and then I'm going to create a group or a folder. I'm going to name it Logos. That should only have, let me drag my Discord one into it. So that has there. I'm going to do, granted, I'm only doing one number right now, but if I were to do an entire set, I will you'd have multiple ones in there essentially. I'm going to put these into one called design, but still broken into their individual components in here. That's just going to make organizing this a little bit easier. Move my Discord logo to here. It's too big, obviously. I'm going to scale it down some. Rotate it a tick. Not much, just a little bit. All right. So I'm going to leave that there. Now I'm going to put, yeah, we'll put Jordan. Got this file saved really large, so when I paste it onto the template, it's going to be gigantic, but I'm going to resize it, so it doesn't matter. Transform, scale, shrink it down a lot. Oop. All right, I'll put him here. All right. You see, I save a lot, just a habit. Never want to lose my work, so and I would even save the template as a whole. But so we got that in there. Okay, I'm not going to go back and fix it, but his foot's cut off by part of the exhaust. Now, if I were to go and look at the wireframe on here, I could have seen that that was going to happen. So the green sections, the green boxes that you see on here is going to be stuff that is cut off by different stuff on the template. So you know what, I will fix it. Let's drag him out to here. Turn off wireframe. Save it again. Voila. All better. All right. So that's basic scheme. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. I didn't do anything overly complicated. You can change the thickness of this line. You can do multiple lines. You can do gradient fills. All kinds of things you can do. But now I have this, and something that came out maybe 2-3 years ago, iRacing started allowing secular maps, which allows you to change the way that the lighting affects your paint scheme. It's pretty complicated at first, but once you sit down and you actually do it, it's not too bad. So I'm gonna actually name this. Just name this stream so I have my copy of it. Now I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna name one Spec Map. So I have two completely separate files. I'll go in here. This whole folder I don't need. Oh, didn't mean all that. meant to delete the group. Oh, group only. There you go. Oh wait, no, it did delete everything. I'll just delete these individually. Alright. So paintable area has a lot of the color change logos, windshield banners, the different roof cameras, all this stuff is all in one. I want this to be treated almost like it's stickers stuck on the car. I'm going to do the same for the logos that I put on it. I want it to have the appearance of looking like a sticker. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to merge that whole group. That puts all that together. Logos here. Same deal. I'm going to right click, merge group. I want these two to get treated essentially the same. So I'm going to merge those layers together. The number I'm going to do something a little bit different with. So what I'm going to want it to do here, I want the outline to get treated essentially with no real change to it. I want it to kind of look like the rest of the paint scheme, but this center black fill, I think I want it to look extremely matte. So specifically for the spec map here, I'm going to get rid of both of these strokes so that the spec map's only going to affect the inner part of my number. I'm going to merge this group, which is really just the one design. And then I think I want the orange line to be like a decal laid on, and then I want the white fill. I want that to be really chrome. So if you want 100% chrome, you have to have your fill as white. And then on the spec map, I'm going to essentially put it as 100% chrome. So I'm going to merge the orange lines, or merge the shapes, I should say. I need to rasterize this layer so that it can actually be affected by the spec map. And then I'm going to take these two layers, I'm going to merge these layers. It's going to be orange lines. It's going to be white fill. I don't need them to be in this folder anymore. So I'm just going to delete this folder. All right, so I got 5 different things here. Oh, I see it accidentally. Why did it crisscross my orange lines here? Did something goofy there. Let me go back and reset some. Clearly I screwed something up. All right. I'm going to rasterize each of these individual shapes. That's what I did wrong. This is just going to be white fills. All right, that's better. Don't need them in the design folder. So orange lines, white fill. I'm going to click each one of these so that all 5 are highlighted while holding control. Now I'm going to drag it down here to the plus sign, and it's going to make a copy of each of them. Now I'm going to turn on the spec map, and you're going to see all kinds of crazy colors and stuff. It's completely normal. So I'm going to click the little arrow here. I'm going to drag my first set of folders into red metallic, or red channel metallic. And then I'm going to drag this set into your green channel for roughness. Click my arrow here. I'm going to drag parts up to the top. It essentially has a base paint layer in here already. I don't need the second one. This is the one that I actually did. Same thing for the green channel. Parts to the top. Get rid of my base paint. Blue channel and alpha we do not need to worry about. That's not really things that you're commonly doing on these templates, so we're just going to ignore those. This is where I'm going to bring up this. I'm going to try and get this side by side. So red channel metallic, and this is labeled metallic. Roughness, you'll notice green channel is titled roughness. So that's where these two things align. So I'm essentially going to apply a color overlay to each of these layers twice. The first one's going to affect how metallic I want it to be, and then the roughness of it is going to affect this bottom scale here. So essentially the white fill here, I'm going to want it to be 100% metallic, and then I want it to be really chrome. I'm going for this right here. The logos, I don't really want those to be very metallic. And then that number fill, I wanted it to be essentially 100% matte, which would be not on the non-metallic scale all the way to the right. So you're going to see what I'm talking about here. This, again, can make your brain hurt a little bit, but once you do it a few times, it's not too bad. So paintable area copy is going to be all my logos. I'm going to click color overlay here, click it, open this, and then this B scale with a percent is going to be essentially 100% is going to be I want it to be 100% metallic, or anything in between all the way down to 0 being 0% metallic. I want these to be logos. I don't want them to be metallic at all. So I'm going to do 0%. And you're going to see it changes stuff on the template as I go. All right, so I have that on there. The number, I decided I wanted that to be 100% matte. I'm going to color overlay it. Again, that's going to be 0%. The orange lines, I want that to kind of look just like a normal orange. I don't want anything super crazy with it. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to color overlay it. I'm going to do 0% for that as well. The white fill, now this is where it's going to change. This white's going to turn into 100% chrome. The Spec Maps will kind of screw with your colors a little bit. Sometimes they'll make your stuff look darker, so you may have to, on your base paint, the color you go with may have to be lighter than what you expect it to be, because really the way the light's hitting it's going to change it. But for this white fill, color overlay, and this is where I'm going to go 100%. I'm going to hit OK. And then the base paint on the car, I want that to be pretty matte as well. So I'm going to color overlay it just for the sake of screwing around with it and doing something a little bit different. I'm going to go 20%. So I'm going to make that a little bit more metallic than normal. I'm going to hit OK. So that's done for your red channel for the metallicness of everything. Parts here you don't need to adjust on either of the channels. You can, but I personally don't. Paintable area, I'm going to go color overlay. So for this, I decided I didn't want it to be metallic at all. Just open this up and blow it up. So non-metallic, from what I've found, somewhere right between these two is the best for like a natural logo looking look. 37%, something that was suggested to me by somebody else a while ago. So that's what I do for my logos usually. So I'm going to do color overlay, change this percentage to 37%. Okay, the number, I said I wanted it to be extremely matte. So I'm going to go non-metallic scale, because I did 0% for the metallicness of it. So I'm on this scale, and then I want it to be really matte, so I'm going to do 100%. Color overlay, 100%. And now you see it's really starting to do some crazy colors here. The orange lines, I want that to be similar to the logos that I have on it, so I'm going to do 37%. The white fill, this is where I want it to be extremely metallic. So I'm going to go 0% here, and it's going to turn it essentially into chrome. And I'll show you what a subtle tweak to it can do. So 0%, you see it turns it like hot pink. And then the base paint, this one I was doing a little bit differently, so I want it to be kind of matte, but I'm going to do like 70%. I'm going to get it somewhere in here, and you can play with these numbers and tweak them. The reason that I saved an additional spec map file here is that way I can make tweaks on this outside of my main paint scheme. Tweak it separately. So let's go 70% here, see what it looks like. So I'm hit OK, and that's it for the spec map. So if you don't use custom numbers, spec maps can get a little bit tricky, because when the sim stamps the number on here, essentially if I didn't say exactly where this number was going to be, it's going to treat the number you put on there with different effects. It'll be really chromy here it'll be like a logo, so it'll look a little goofy. So this is more ideal for not sim stamp numbers, or if you can make your design where it doesn't go through like your number, you can do it there as well. But TGA, go here. So for the spec, you're going to name it spec here. And you're going to save it. So now I can look in here. And this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't look as good here in the sim or UI. If you load it up into the game, you can really see what it looks like. So I'm going to close this out and let's look at it. I have a couple replay files I use that let me see that. But this scale, I'll put a link in the description I uploaded this to Google Drive, so you can use it as a reference. It's a really good reference point, and it shows you like examples of what different stuff may look like. Again, the stuff up here doesn't really matter. The porosity, I guess would be the term. It doesn't matter. You can't really affect that, but it's very basic, and I know it looked a little goofy on my spec map around my number. That's just the way that I did it, just kind of trying to do it really quick. You'll tweak that. A lot of times, just the number, I would have it treated as just a normal logo on the car. All right. Yeah, see how essentially I told the spec map not to treat anything around the outside, so this is kind of what I'm talking about, some of the goofiness that it would do to that it's going to do to your, let's get it here into the corner. You can't really see it all that great, but this finish here is 100% metallic. I'm not really doing it much justice, because for whatever reason I made the car the same color as the track, so you're not seeing the difference here. So let me load up my old scheme again. That way I'll just change the color of the paint on it. Change it to yellow. That'll be a big difference. Save as. Control R. All right, so now you can see the difference in it. So really what you're seeing here is the track surface itself being reflected. That's 100% chrome. You can change those numbers. And you can see as it's driving here, kind of around that number where I didn't change the spec map, you can see how it's color changing. It's kind of a little goofy looking. Just an example of what you can do. I think that's probably going to be it for this video. I wanted to get a little bit more in there for you. I mean, if you have more questions or comments or anything for me, definitely comment and I can do more videos in the future. Take care, guys.